Welcome, welcome. This is it. This is our night. We look forward to it all year long, don't we? No, not the last webcast, silly guys. I can hear them. No, that's not what we look forward to. We look forward to Toys for Tots. This is the time we get to set aside a little bit of time, and we're sewing for the children. We're sewing for all those kids that just, kids don't really get to choose in life what they want. They kind of get to follow their parents' lead, and some don't get as lucky as others. So tonight it gives us an opportunity to donate, and obviously 100% of our proceeds go to Toys for Tots. And so we're excited to be here, and we're grateful that you're joining us. So let me show you how to donate. You're just going to go to fit2stitch.com and then go to donations, and then you'll see it there. You'll see there's several. So we've got a lot going on tonight. We're doing $125 is our sew along. And that is a donation for Fit to Stitch, not for Toys for Tots, but for Fit to Stitch. That's a donation for Fit to Stitch. And then we've got the Toys for Tots. And then this is a new pattern that we've brought back. We've brought back two patterns, 125 and 314. And the reason being is this is a double-breasted motorcycle jacket is what it is. You know, our double-breasted jean jacket. It is as cute as can be, and it's all over the place for spring. So it just didn't make sense to me to not bring it back. And we're going to ship it between Christmas and New Year. So you'll have it to where you can start sewing on it, in time. And this is a leather. It doesn't have to be a leather. It can be a myriad of fabrics. Any fabric works, but it's just a really great pattern. We just had it in, and I took it away for a while, and it's really time to bring it back. So it only comes in a collection of two patterns, the 914 and then the 314. They'll go together. And that's on that page too. So we got all kinds of donations going on tonight, don't we? We appreciate y'all being there. We really, you all know we cannot do this without you. So thank you. I also wanted to talk about just briefly, we've got we've got a new format coming up. We're going to do a webcast Thursday night, and then the following Thursday, and then the following Thursday. And then we're going to switch to a new format. You'll hear about it later. I'll announce more, but I'm really excited. And not our Tuesday night. We'll leave our Tuesday night exactly like it is. We'll still be every other Tuesday night, but it's our Thursday night that we're going to switch up a little bit. And we think you'll like it, so we'll want you to be there, and we'll want your feedback. But we'll announce it via email, and we'll let you know what we're thinking about, okay? All right, but it is that holiday season. It's kind of time to think of others and what we can do for others and how we can help others. And that's kind of what tonight is all about. It's kind of giving and helping others. Taking a little bit of time for yourself. And we're going to sew. So 125, I love it. I have it on. The fabric that I used, I have it on, is 5982. I put up fabrics, I put them up yesterday, and most of them sold out. And I felt bad because I did get some complaints. And I totally hear you. If you don't, sometimes, not all the time, if you don't get to that computer soon enough, the fabric is gone. So I put up some more options today. They're all good options. And so tonight what I wanted to do is this fabric is 5934 is what we're using tonight. And you can see that I've done it lots of different ways. This particular one is it was a panel print. You need a two-way stretch is what you want. It was a panel print, so I put that panel right down the middle. I love this shirt. I've had it for years. I just absolutely love it. But you can see it can be a print, an all-over print, a solid. It goes great under jackets. It's great by itself. There's just so many variables. This original was a Neiman Marcus, not a cheap top, and I absolutely love it. So to be able to bring it back and for you all to appreciate it, because it is such an upscale turtleneck is really what it is, and yet it's so much prettier than a turtleneck. It kind of drops in the center, and depending on how firm the fabric is, it'll either kind of stand up like this, or it'll fall down and it'll kind of puddle a little bit. But even if it puddles, it's still really nice, and it's still really pretty. It's just a different look. So you can decide how firm your fabric is. This is an ITY. ITYs have a lot of drape in them, so you're going to see that it's going to puddle more so than wrap around the neck like the one I have on. And I had a brooch that I put on this one. This was a little gift that I got Saturday at the party, and I just love it. So I chose this fabric to kind of show off the brooch and match it. So I want to show you this for a minute, what I'm going to do with it. I wanted to kind of introduce a border print with this top and a stripe, and we'll see how it turns out. but I want to briefly explain kind of how this top works. I guess I can put that back on later. So you can see up here that this is a yoke. There's actually a seam line under here. This is actually the yoke. This is the biggest part of the collar, and that collar sews on, it becomes a yoke, but it sews on, wraps around the neck. It only sews to the base of the neck, and then this is all free. And I'm going to show you kind of how to work with that and the best way to do that. So with a stripe, what I did, and I'm going to show this to you so you can kind of see it on the mannequin. This yoke, when I was cutting it out, I put the stripe up and down because y'all know we look thinner with it up and down. But if you notice, I just lined up the yoke to where it matched those stripes. So that matches identically going down. So when you have it on, this will all be one. And then I put because it was a stripe, I put the collar, the stripes going the other direction. So it's all design. We could love it, we could hate it, y'all will be the judge. But I just wanted to let you kind of know where my thinking was in introducing a fabric that has stripe or border. I put a border up, and we had a border up yesterday, and they're both two-way stretches, and they're both really good. Okay, so if you have any questions, let us know. This is 125. Leanne's top is the pattern. We will have a couple giveaways tonight as far as patterns go, so be sure that you get logged into YouTube. You have to be logged into YouTube, and this is only live. It's not anywhere else, and we'll give away a couple patterns. All right, and for all of you guys, we just want everybody to have happy holidays. We're really excited to be here, and we are excited it's the last one for this year. No lies, but we'll see you again next year, and we'll have lots of fun stuff again. All right, so what I've done, the very first column, if we want to put that column up, if you don't mind, I just want to show you there's 5 columns when we do this top, and we're going to work our way through the columns. And when we put these columns up, I had an email, someone said they couldn't read the print. This is not necessarily for you to be able to read. It's just so you get out your guide sheet, because if you don't have the pattern, it's really not going to make a lot of sense for you. So it's just so you can follow along and know which column we're on. So to not be able to read it is not really what we're worried about. We're more worried about that you're able to see what's going on. And we've got a camera on the serger, and we've got a camera on the sewing machine. We're going to use both tonight. It is a knit. It's a two-way knit. You do not have to use a serger. You could do the whole thing without a serger, and you could do the whole thing on the sewing machine. So please don't feel like if you don't have a serger, you can't do this. It's not the case. How do we donate for Toys for Tots? Okay, so we're going to go to fittostitch.com. Fit to Stitch is a nonprofit, so no matter what you donate through Fit to Stitch, it is tax deductible. Okay, so we put Toys for Tots in Fit to Stitch so that you could get that tax deduction. Believe me, if you donate another way, it doesn't make any difference to us. We just want to take out an hour tonight. We want to dedicate this to the kids and dedicate this to our giving, to our giving spirit. I really am a big believer that we are happier when we give than when we receive. And so that's our goal, and just kind to make the lead tonight for that. So fittostitch.com, donations, and you'll see there's icons all on that page. Do you carry the pink leather of the jacket? I do not. It's a jacket I made some time ago, and it's I don't have the leather. Okay, are we good to go? All right, so I have to tell you I cheated. The very first column, we have 2 French darts. We're going to stitch those French darts. I know that you've seen me stitch French darts before. I know that you know how. I know that you've seen me do everything. So I cheated just a little bit. I'm feeling very guilty, but I went ahead and sewed those 2 French darts. Okay, so we'll go to the next, the same column, but the very next step is our collar. We start to do our collar prep. And we can see this collar is long. It's cut on the fold. We put right sides together. There's no need to use a serger when you do this, because there's a folded edge and a non-folded edge, and you're going to sew this non-folded edge, and you're going to sew it all the way across the open. Not the ends, just the cut edges themselves. And you're just going to peek and make sure that it's folded together. And there are notches that are going to align here, you know, when we go to put it on. But don't try to, I wouldn't try to even mark the notches at this point, because once you turn it, you're not going to know where they are anyway. So the reason I brought the collar pattern, typically once I cut out, I know where all the parts are going and I don't bother with the pattern piece, but I brought it tonight because I wanted to show you after you sew this and after you turn it, then we're going to mark it. So again, I'm just sewing the open edge all the way. It's got a little dippy-do there, so we're going to go in that little dippy-do and just keep going. And for all of you out there, you know, we had a Christmas party Saturday. We just had a really nice time. Just love visiting with you all. But we had a few ladies, 2 ladies from Missouri, drive down. We have to brag on them because if they can do it, so can you. We can have planes, trains, and automobiles, and you know we can go and visit these places. We always post that save the date well in advance so y'all can come see us and come to the party. It was really a lot of fun. We had way too much food. Okay, so there that is. You can see that's the folded edge. And so what I'm going to do now is just invert the whole thing inside out. Okay, and that's how it's going to be ready to put on. The seam is going to be at the bottom. So I'm going to actually press this. I'm going to go to the ironing board and press this a little bit so I can keep it at the base. All right, and you're just going to press that seam at the bottom even. I don't know that I would press it to one side or another because you don't really know what side's going to be, which side's going to be up and what side's going to be down. So we're going to put that on the ironing board. We're just going to give it a press. I think my iron went to sleep. It's hot. It's plenty hot, so I don't need it. But the way I did this kind of is I tried to, on one side, run a black stripe toward the edge. I tried to fold it. We'll see if it works or not. Not sure it will, but we'll see. I need to read my brochure on how to change the temperature on this. Sad but true, I'm not sure I know how to do that. I always get mad at you guys for not reading directions, and sometimes I'm in the same boat. Didn't read the directions. Okay, so got that somewhat pressed. Oh, there we go. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, once you've got this pressed and you've got it laid out, you can see the best way to tell or to differentiate between this collar is you've got a wider end and you've got a narrower end. All right, so it's pretty easy to see which end is which. And you're going to take your pattern and you're going to line it onto, you know, just lay it down once it's sewn. And what you want to do is you're going to mark the shoulder seam. Now it does indent where that shoulder seam is, but I'm going to put a pin there. Okay, and then I'm going to put a pin here. And that's one shoulder seam. It's going to wrap around to the back neck and then the other shoulder seam. Okay, that's all you need to do. Okay, so we're on that same column. Our collar's ready. And at the bottom of that collar, we're going to take the back and we're going to serge. It is the right back shoulder seam allowance because it's going to get left. So the right back shoulder seam is just going to take a little serge. Now again, remember, if you're not serging, just don't do this part. It's not a big deal. You know, your fabric's not going to fray. It's going to be just fine. Okay, so now that means that takes us to the next column, which is column number 2. Okay, that was the back, and we did that. Okay, the next one, I have pinned it. This is the yoke piece. You only cut one of these, and this is the yoke where I was talking to you about this part up here. It's this little section right there that we're sewing. So I pinned that together just so that I wouldn't flip it or turn it. Can you see that? So I've got it already pinned. I'm just going to actually sew that together so that it lines up. I would imagine it doesn't, have to be exact. You're going to see that collar portion is going to go right over it. So don't get real nervous about this if you're deciding to use a stripe. I just wanted you to kind of get a different idea as to a way to do this. Thought it would be fun to see the effect. So remember, we've got that collar that's going to go right over this. It was just, like I said, a fun idea. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and press this down, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and then the bottom of that column, that second column has the back, and you're going to put that back. So this is the back. It's the non-serged shoulder seam. You're going to put that to the front yoke, and you're going to serge those two together. If it was the other shoulder seam, then it wouldn't have made sense to serge it. So it's the non-serged shoulder seam. Get stitched to, what did I do? Hold on just a second. To the front, to the yoke. That's what happens here. Okay, and I got to make sure they're going in together. It's almost easier to stand up, but when I stand up, I can't see around the camera. So, okay, so let's press these two. And actually, at the same time, this collar looks really good. We could just press the collar. We could just press the French darts. So this is my yoke, and my yoke is going to press down toward the bottom. And then my shoulder seam is going to press to the back. All right, and this particular fabric is a cotton poly. So, oh my goodness, look at you guys. I'll show you in a minute. Look how good that yoke looks. Can't even tell there's a seam. Is that cool? Look at that. That is so cool. So it's going to look like it's one piece is what it's going to look like, which is exactly kind of what I wanted. We need to answer questions, don't we? Okay, I can't find the pattern on the website. So it's not on the website. It's not on Silhouette Patterns. It's on Fit to Stitch, you guys. It's only on Fit to Stitch. I really should probably put it on Silhouette Patterns and then with a link that takes it to Fit to Stitch, because you're probably not the only one who's going to tell me that. But if you go to that same fittostitch.com donations, you'll see it's a double. You get that one in 1819. Now we already had a sew along on 1819. We did a jacket out of it, and the two look really good together. They're a great pair, so that's why I put them together. Okay, what brand is the steam iron? We sell this, you guys. This is the Reliable. It's on, if you go to the very front page of our website, it is on the very front page. Or it's under Sewing Lifestyle. I think it's in both places. And this one has, I have it on a low steam because ITY or polycottons don't need a lot of steam. But anyway, you could do a facial with it if you wanted to, but I'm sure y'all don't want to do that. But you could. So it's a good Christmas present. You give yourself a facial and an iron all at the same time. Okay. 1.5 inches bigger, 1.5 bigger circumference at bust than size 5. No. You have negative E's. You've got negative E's, so I don't think it's a problem. What is the point to making it a separate piece? Oh, you mean in the original? That's a good question. I'll think on that for a little bit. I copied the original, and the original was a separate piece. If I had to guess, I don't know. That's a really good question. I was going to say, if I had to guess, I would guess stability. That this half didn't get heavier than this half, but I don't know. To be honest. What's the purpose of the yoke? Does it not look like it's used for shaping. Does not look like, oh, does not look like it's used for shaping. Well, I don't know, but also it could be simply a placement for this. It's a placement guide. As this collar wraps around the neck, I use it as a placement guide. It's almost like a notch. But I don't know. Obviously, it was just a styling. So it's just a styling question. Okay, if you go to the next column, we're on column number 3 now. We're going to put the collar on. Yay, it's so exciting. And we do it on the serged edge is where we start. And we start, if you notice, the big end. And we sew the, got to make sure I do this right now. We sew the big end, the fold, is going to go to, I've got all these pieces, you guys. I was trying to hold this up so you can see it, and I've got all these pieces, and I can't tell which goes where. The big end is going to go to the shoulder seam, the part that we serged, because we're going to do it on a sewing machine. We're not going to do it on the serger. And there's a notch on the pattern, and that's where you're going to sew it to. Yeah, the shoulder edge is with the collar's folded edge. So we're going to put the wide end of the collar to the shoulder. Everybody okay with that? And we're going to sew it on the sewing machine. And we're just going to sew it, you're going to see, to the notch. Now, I don't have the notch on here because the notch is just, it's just a seam allowance away. I'll show you when I sew. Okay, we're going to start here. And actually the collar is the second part of the, it's a yoke. The yoke is built into this portion of the collar. So I'm going to sew there. I'm on the folded edge. I'm going to come right within a seam allowance away, and then I'm going to back stitch. And back stitching this is important because otherwise it just won't hold. It won't hold through the durability of this whole thing. Okay, so there I have it. And remember, I cut this yoke so you could see so that the stripe could be. Okay, so now we're at the bottom of that column. I had a problem with the center front tip. The center front tip attaching to the yoke. Could you show that closer? Yeah, I don't think we're there yet, but I will. As soon as we're there, yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing now, and I'm going to sew this portion. It's going to go to here. And I don't think it matters which way you start sewing or which direction you start sewing, as long as you start sewing. So I'm going to start, I just got to make sure I've got it going the right way. So just when I sewed this portion, the wider portion right here, see that shaping right there? That's the armhole. So you know that this portion of the top now comes to right here. So you go the other side. This is now the folded side, or the side that's been stitched. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put some pins in here just so you can kind of follow along with me. Okay, I'm going to do there. And then remember, I already had some markings for the shoulders, for the shoulder seams. So I'm going to kind of keep those in place. And I'm going to jump ahead, and the first pin goes to the shoulder seam. That shoulder seam, the seam allowance, should go towards the back, just FYI. So I'm going to put that there. You're going to sew right past that. I'm going to lay that down so hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. This comes in here, and it goes along to this other side there. And you can see there's a pin there for this shoulder seam. And you stopped short, so you can sew it right to that seam allowance. I'm actually going to start stitching here. I don't think it matters, But I'm going to start stitching there, and I'll kind of show you why when I do it. I feel like it's just made a difference. Now remember that this is a two-way stretch. So once you've marked those points, you're going to go back and kind of stretch this to go in between. It's not a lot of stretch, but it's a little bit, and you want to make sure that it's evenly stretched so that you don't get a lot of, puckers in any one place. If you're not using a serger, I am going to use a serger, but if you're not, you'll just have the edge raw, which again, it's not a big deal. It's your call. Okay, are we okay? Everybody can see? Okay, so this part right here is the long section in the front. Now, the other thing about this top, you guys, you don't have to make the collar the width it is, like you do in the front, because it's the yoke portion and it sews together. But as far as the rest of it goes, you really don't have to. You could narrow it as it goes around the neck edge. You could narrow it. All right, so I think I've got this just about pinned. I just want to show it to you to make sure we're all on the same page. So this collar, and this is the reason, when you cut this out, you've got to have the collar on the greatest part of stretch, because the collar has to be able to stretch. Okay, let's kind of look at it so you can kind of see where we're going to be at. Okay, here's the back. Here's the front. Here's the front, sorry. Okay, so this is pinned on here. You can see it wraps around, and this is going to come over to the armhole. Am I just doing crazy here? What am I doing here? Just a second, you guys. You know, that seam is so hard to see. I didn't even see the seam. I've got it right. I just, okay, let me show you how it is. So the collar, you start stitching here at the front. Okay, there's the seam, which is why I completely missed it. It sews, the wider end is here. I've already sewn this section right there to the back. So this part of the collar, I'm going to sew along here. I'm going to sew along and stop right at the back neck edge. This part right now is still going to be free until I wrap it over there, and then it's going to be joined into the armhole. Okay, make sure everybody understands that. I just started here, just going to go around, and I'm just going to sew from this point right to there. And once we get there, I want to show you how to secure that, because even on the original one, I bought the original one after wearing it. It kind of got a hole in the fabric from pulling it. So I've kind of, as I've gone along, as I've sewn them, I kind of have a way to secure that a little bit so that it really lays better. It's sewn better. So it gives you a little bit more security and it won't rip out the fabric. But as soon as I sew this, I'll show that to you. All right, everybody sewing with me? You guys ready for this portion? And again, it doesn't matter where you start. I have a tendency to start at the base of that shoulder. I don't know why, I just do. All right, so that's going to be over here. And I'm going to serge the whole thing. I forgot. So I'm on the serger. Okay, so I have a seam allowance that's just a little bit open. You can see it's just right there. It's where that seam allowance is. And so I'm just going to start a little bit before that seam allowance. Just don't let your pin get in the way, so you don't want to run over your pin. And then this is the seamed edge and the neck edge are what I'm sewing together. And this is it, you guys. After this is done, it's putting the sleeves in and hemming it, and that's it. It's just a really fun top. I just love it. You know, somebody had actually mentioned to me to bring this back, and I'm so grateful because I love this shirt. Like all the years, this has probably been one of my most favorite shirts. I felt like it was so unique and so different. But I felt like when I brought it out, it just kind of wasn't really appreciated. It could be that maybe at the time we just had too many other things going on. So it's really nice to see it back and to see you all loving it, because we've gotten some really, really positive comments on all of this. Let's answer questions. Sorry. Did you twist the neck right before you sewed into armhole? I haven't sewed it into the armhole, even on the one I'm wearing. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to put it on a mannequin, and I want you all to see it, because the whole beauty of doing this is you have some options in fitting this. So as soon as you put this on, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to put it on a mannequin and show you kind of how to vary the fit. You know, if you have a thin neck, if you have a thick neck, if you have a short neck, we're going to go over all those options for you, so that but you got to get to this point first, and then we'll make the. I'll show you. So just one second. Okay, so here we are. We've got the collar on, and we're going to put this on a dress form. Or I'm going to figure out. I'll put on something here. Just a minute. I'm going to have to take this down. Give me just a minute. Okay, and I want to put this on so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the back. Sorry. We're going to turn this around to the front. So I think everybody's with me. See, there's the yoke line. I know you can't see it, but here's how the collar, it goes around. And what you've got, and I haven't clipped threads, but you've got this, you can see it goes up, and now this comes over here, okay? So I would suggest you put it on. Like when I made this one, I put it on at this point. You don't need the side seams closed. I mean, if you do, you can pin them because you're going to put your sleeves in. But what you want to do is, every fabric's going to be a little bit different with this. So this seam is a guide as to where it goes. As long as it covers the seam, it doesn't matter where it goes. So don't get caught up that it has to be in a certain place. Also, if it's a thinner fabric, like what this is kind of like a little ITY, it's really drapey, I can pull it tighter to where it holds up on my neck. It doesn't have to be right at the seam line and have that extra. If you want that, you can. So this is really a time where you can kind of tweak the fabric, the design, according to your shape and your neck and everything else. Because you can see, I want to bring it in around the seam line, but I certainly could go down a little bit if it's a little extra. Do not make it too tight. If you make it too tight, it's going to look silly. But you can see that I'm just going to kind of drape that. I'm going to put some pins in there. So don't get too crazy about exactly where the end of this goes into the armhole. But I'm just going to put a pin. This is like perfect where I put my brooch. I just love it on here. I thought it'd be really pretty on there. But isn't that cool, you guys? Now I want to come back to this point right here, because this point, because it's going over the neck, or over the head, I'm sorry, gets a lot of stress. So I'm going to show you just a little trick to kind of stabilize that. It's not in the directions. It's just from making it many, many times. Are you cutting off the seamed edge when you serge it? Yes. Not really cutting it off. I'm not taking that big a seam allowance, but I am serging that seamed edge to the neck edge is what's happening. Is that cool? That is the coolest neckline, you guys. I love it. I just love it. I love it in the stripe. I love how this goes this way and this goes this way. But enough chatter. Let's get it done. Sorry. Okay, so we'll put this back. I think we'll put it back. Okay, so let's go to that neck edge where we started sewing. I've got the pin in place so that I will, I know the angle that neck piece needs to go. And right underneath here is where I'm going to come in. It's where I started the stitching, where I started the serging. And I'm going to take my machine. It's the neck edge. It's the serged shoulder seam that was serged before, and I'm literally going to stitch all three of those. I'm going to go through all 3 layers. Even if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, go through all 3 layers. And you can see that they'll lay only one direction. You'll get through all 3. And just go through all 3 and then back stitch. That's it. And that little stitch right there will really do a big deal in securing that neck edge to where it won't pull out, rip out, anything else. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip the threads. Okay, so you know we're done. At this point, we're done. Well, I mean, we're not done, but I mean, we're ready to put the sleeves in. I've got the neck edge on. I've got that point secured really nicely. I've got it wrapped around. I know where this is, and I would strongly encourage you to try it on. If you don't have, if you're making it for someone and you can't try it on, then follow the seam line, follow where it is. And it's just, this top of the fold goes at the stitch, at the seam line of that yoke. That's where it originally goes. Okay, so having said that, we're gonna go to the next column. I actually was on the next column, sorry. We're gonna go to the bottom of the next column though, and we're gonna put our sleeves in. And if you're making this sleeveless, you would just serge it in place and turn it under. If you are making it sleeveless, what I would recommend is that you use a fabric, and when you cut the collar, make it a little longer. And the reason being is if I have my shirt on, and you can see where this goes over here, or where's it going over? Over to here. The sleeve is going to stabilize it. And so, but if I don't have that sleeve, you don't want any tension coming over here, otherwise it will pull the sleeve in. So I've made it sleeveless, and I love it sleeveless, but you just want to make sure that the collar's long enough that you're not pulling the sleeve in place of where it should be. Okay, and I'm just going to put the sleeves in place here and sew them on no different than we always do. And we'll answer questions that you have. We're pretty much done with the sewing machine. Except for hemming, we're going to be all completely on the serger now. And we always put the sleeve on the bottom, and we only do a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And we just get going. On this first sleeve, I'm doing it where the end of that collar anchors in. So it doesn't change the sleeve or where it goes in or how it goes in. It doesn't change any of that. Just do make sure that that yoke seam, because that's where you're going through, it should be going down toward the hem of the garment. Okay, my pin matches my shoulder seam. Just be sure you get your pin out of there. All right, does everybody get it? Do you understand it? It's a fun, fun shirt. And like I said, I put up those new fabrics because I can just see that one, I had a couple border prints up there, you guys. I think that'd be really cool. I've never done it really in a border print. When I did it in this panel print, I put the panel down the middle. You could put the border down there too. Just so many fun things to do with it. Just wanted to give you options. Okay, so we've got the sleeve in now. And I'm going to do the other sleeve as well. So you can see that the sleeve is holding in that seam right there. Just make sure you got it all, and I did. And I'm just going to reach over and turn that back on. And I'm going to put in the other sleeve while it's turning back on. I always have a tendency to put a pin to the seam, the shoulder seam, or any seam. I've got two seams here, which direction it's going, because sometimes when I get there on the sewing machine, I can't tell because the sleeve is, I just can't tell which way it's supposed to go. So I put a pin there so I don't even have to think about it. I can just, it's a little bit faster to me. Okay, so we're going to do this again. And when I start to put that sleeve in, I just line up the shoulder seam, the two together, especially on a knit. Just going to kind of give it the ease it needs. I think we have questions. Is that fabric red or orange? It looks orange on camera. I would call it a pink. I think it's the really popular pink. Pink is a really big color still for spring. It's really big. In fact, in the if you look at the colors, you guys, you'll see pink like 3 times. They just call them different things. It's crazy. So I think this is more of a hot pink than it is orange or red, to be honest. Okay. This is the homeward stretch. And it's really important now that you stitch your sleeves, press your sleeves, because if they're not pressed now, they're a lot harder. They don't look as good. I just will always take my time to press the sleeves right now. You press the sleeves out into the body of the garment, or out into the body of the sleeve. And just use your ironing board to press those sleeves. It just makes it really, really easy. All right, let's answer your questions. I can see them on the screen. Okay. Oh, no, there are no questions. Okay, that means we're current. How about that? So when I say the pressing, the sleeves, the seam goes into the body of the garment. I was actually right when I said that. I don't think there's a rule, but I think it just looks better. And I think I've seen it so often that they go inward that it's easiest to press it at this point, and it's easiest to press it when they're flat. And then you don't have to worry about pressing them later. And they look really good. Okay, that's 1. And that's 2. We have almost got a new shirt that we just birthed, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that's in the English language. And because this has poly in it, I just have a tendency to just let the steam sit on it, or let the heat. The steam doesn't really do that much, but I just let the heat sit on it for a little bit. All right, let's do the side seams and the underarm seams. And we're good to go. It feels good. It's nice and warm. So this is a case where I'm going to use a serger, but you certainly, it doesn't make any difference. Just line up ahead of time and hit the pedal and go. Just make sure that underarm seam is coming together. That's really the only... You start at the bottom of the sleeve because it'll take the seam and put it in the direction that you just pressed it. I cut this top about, I think I cut it about 4 inches longer. So I just wanted it a little bit longer. But you just, easy enough, just add it to the bottom. When I have finished one seam, I'll take the front and I'll serge the bottom because it's flat and it's open and easier than serging in a round, which is what it's going to be in a minute once I do the other side. Y'all, none of this makes a difference. Your order doesn't make any difference. I'm just telling you that's how I do it, and it's just fast. It's very fast. Okay, now I'm going to do the underarm seam. Then I want to show you one tip on hemming that I figured out. It's not a big deal. And then we'll put it on the mannequin and let y'all see it. Or we'll put it on me. No, we'll put it on the mannequin. How are we doing for time? Are we doing okay? Hey. We're doing good. Told the guys we won't be an hour. I can make that top in X number of minutes. I love to sew. Have y'all figured that out yet? Okay, I want to show you one little tip. We're going to go to the sewing machine. It's actually all done. The only thing it has to do is have the hems. So in moving my machines back and forth, I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to have, because I had a whole bunch of machines, but I didn't have a bunch of tables. And I hadn't had a table cut for one of the machines. So this is what I figured out. By sewing, I've sewn for a long time with these tables. And y'all know we sell the tables, so this is kind of a disclaimer. So what I realized is that when we sew, I'm going to show you here for a second. We have a tendency to want to stretch, and the stretching straightens things out. Well, what the table does, it allows us to straighten things out by pushing down rather than pulling out. So you can see that when I go to sew this, I actually can push down to get this straight as opposed to stretching. So what I noticed is, because I've used a table for so many years, even when I sewed without the table, I was actually pushing down to get the hem straight rather than pulling on it. And so what the table does, I think, after all these years of using a table, is it kind of trains us to sew better. Now the reason I'm telling you this is I know I sell the tables, but if you can't afford a table or you don't have a table, press down when you're sewing the hem rather than pulling to straighten it. The pulling, we're just trying to straighten it, is all we're trying to do. But it, unfortunately, pulls out the hem and it just makes it look terrible. So just push down, and I think you'll find you get a really good hem. I'll just finish this up and then I'll put it. We'll wear it. We'll go partying. Yeah, this is kind of a really hot pink. But I will say, even, I know you may not like it if it's orange, but orange is a big color this spring too. Okay, there we go. We are good to go. We overstitch this just a little bit. Because we've overstitched it, we can just clip the tails. I do the same thing on the other hem, and we're going to put it on our little girly. We're going to see how cute our little lines are going different directions. Okay, so I want to put the, I haven't even insided out the sleeves. I want to put the arm in so you can kind of get an idea as to how it fits on the arm. I'm going to put this in real quick. Any questions? Got it. So what is the goal in our sew-alongs? I think somebody asked me that a little while ago. I thought that was it was via email. I thought that was a really good question, because I don't think I ever said, hey, let's do sew-alongs. I had so many requests from you guys to do sew-alongs. And I remember telling you all, why do we do sew-alongs? Like, why would you all watch this? And somebody said it's like, you know, or I said, isn't it kind of like watching paint dry? I'm sorry, you guys, I've got this sleeve inside out and I didn't pull it out before I started to put it on. But I actually, over the years that we've done sew-alongs, what I've realized is it is very helpful to see somebody else doing a project that you want to do. It's helpful to see their hands. It's helpful just to watch the way they handle it. I mean, I've learned that, and I've actually, when I go to want to do something, I have a tendency to look it up how to do it so that I can see how somebody does it who does it all the time. I sew a lot, and I do not claim to be any fancy sewer. Y'all know that. But I remember watching somebody sew a blouse. And I remember after they sewed the blouse thinking to myself, hey, I can do that. And it was visual. It's visual learning is really what it is. So the purpose of our sew-alongs is for really you all to be able to visually learn how a garment goes together, which I think is much easier than than reading the guide sheets. So that's the goal. Okay, what do y'all think? Do you like the stripe, the fact that we did it in the stripes? Do you like the idea that, you know, it went this way and then went around the neck way this way? I like it. I really like it. I actually was worried about it, but I like it a lot better than I thought I would. Ah, so cute. All right. It's not finished. The sleeves are not hemmed. I guess we could get away without that. It could be cute with a belt. I'm a beltaholic. Y'all know that. We're going to put a belt on it and see what you think. Do you like it with a belt or without a belt? You can vote here. Y'all know I'm a beltaholic too. See, isn't that cute with a belt? Isn't this adorable, you guys? It's a turtleneck, but it's not really a turtleneck. It's better than a turtleneck. And it's great to put a little something there if you wanted to. If not, you just tuck it in and leave it, you know, leave it go. Or pull it a little bit tighter here. I would probably pull that just a little bit tighter. All right, that's it. We're at the end of 2022, you guys. Man, what a year it's been. Lots of good things happening. Oh my. All right, are we good? Do we like it? Some, if you don't like it, just, you know, don't say anything. No, I'm kidding. We want you to be honest. I love it though. I really, really like it. Like I said, it's right in, it looks fresh and it's right in colors. It's a good deal. Okay, oh, you know what we forgot? Yeah, or I forgot. We didn't forget it. I forgot it. I love how I say we and blame you guys. Okay, so we do have we're going to give away a couple patterns. I forgot. I was so intrigued in my collar and my top, I forgot. So we're going to give away 2 patterns to 2 different people, 1 to person, 1 to 2 different people. So do you want to do the first one? Okay, so the first one is pattern 214. This is Lauren's shawl collar. It was a Ralph Lauren. It's not available anymore. So 214, and just put in 214. Just put in those letters. I'm sorry, they're not letters. Put in those numbers. 214, if you'll put in those numbers. And we'll give it a minute until our computer savvy individual tells us, and we will come up with a winner. And y'all are busy putting in 214. Oh, don't enter more than once. It'll kick you out if you guys enter more than once. Y'all got your Christmas trees up or your Hanukkah bushes? Our family is a lot of Jewish, so they always called it a Hanukkah bush. I always thought that was funny. Did I miss you talking about making the collar higher? No, I actually talked about making it narrower. But if you look at the shape of the collar, you know, this is the collar. This is the little part. If you just kind of go through and understand the pattern, this is the little part. And then it wraps around and goes over here. What I was saying is you can't make this part less because see, that's the armhole. That's the yoke and the armhole is all in there. But when you start to get into this portion here and all of this, yes, you can make it wider, narrower. You can just do whatever you want. It's all styling. This part is fit. It's the yoke, it's the top, you know, it's the armhole, it's all that. But once you go around the neck, you know, but see, you could fold this over too. You know, you could give it a little more organization. I don't know what you want to call that. Okay, so we have a winner, M. Richardson. M. Richardson, you won pattern number 214. So 214, you'll have to email me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com, and tell me you won pattern 214. Be sure you have your address, and then we'll mail it out to you. Give us a couple days and we'll mail it out. Okay, and then we're going to give away one more. This is the last giveaway of the year. The very last giveaway. And you're going to enter in 311. This is Victoria's top, and I had made one of these. I just had it on the other day. Love this pattern. It's not available either anymore, actually. 311, Victoria's top. Only simply because, you know, we bring out all of our new ones, and our inventory can only be so big. So can't carry all these patterns. Our storage space is not that big. So 311. If you put in 311, it will start to pick a winner. And again, if you put in 214, you can put in 311. Just don't enter more than once, you guys. I'm telling you. It is not our fault if you enter more than once and you get kicked out. Okay, do you guys manage the Fit to Stitch site? Yes. Fit to Stitch is owned by Hanging on a Thread Productions. Hanging on a Thread Productions is owned, it's a non-profit. So I can't say it's owned by anybody because there's a board. You have to have a board and the board has to all own it. So non-profits are not owned by anybody. It's just a board. But we do manage Fit to Stitch site, yes. Have you ever made the collar a different color? You know, I haven't. I have not. But remember, you guys, my job is to give you the pattern. Your job is to take it to next level. Remember that? Could you split the collar for a peekaboo? I bet you could. Again, see, I get it. Look at those ideas are just rolling, man. They're just going crazy. So this was a sew along, not a pattern of the month. Your ideas are, you're responsible for the ideas now to take it to next level. What fabric is the white top? Oh, that is, that's old. I mean, it was like that white cotton we just had, but I think we're sold out of it. That white 100%, it's a winter white. It was a winter white 100% cotton. But isn't that pretty together, you guys, that winter white together? I love that together. I just think the top is good looking, period. Okay, we have a winner. Sharon Morrissey. Sharon, congratulations. You won 311. So if you'll email me, please, and let me know you won 311. Okay, so don't forget the kids. That's for Toys for Tots. If you want the pattern, it's the 125 and the 1819 together. That is on that same page. And then the jacket, I could put my jacket on with this, you guys, and it would still be really cute. This jacket is the 914 and the 314. This is a pre-sale. It will only go one more week. No, that doesn't match. That's how you know it's hot pink, because it doesn't match. Okay, but it's still cute, whatever. Anyway, that's the 914 and the 314. That pre-sale will go another week only because we are shipping that between Christmas and New Year's. So between that week is when we'll ship this pattern. And we have to be on time. Okay, so we have to know how many to print so that we know how many to ship. If you make the collar a different color, should you also make the small yoke piece a different color? That, my friend, is called styling, and that is called your choice. So whatever you decide, remember, it's your shirt, you're going to wear it, your top. So whatever you decide works for me. If it's good, post it on, go to the enthusiast page and post in there, okay? All right, so from all of our team here tonight, they get a month off, and they're really smiling right now. So thank you all for being here. My personal thanks to them, because I know I couldn't do it without them. And happy holidays to all of you guys. You are the best. Mwah! And we will see you next year. Bye.